Hello, I am going to start that over. Heyo, and welcome to another episode of the Darkives. I'm Jamie talking to Leo.
And I'm Leo listening to Jamie.
And this week I am getting into the history of witches, and I am doing that by picking a few cases and trials from around the world and throughout all time, and I'm just going to be telling you about them.
Very cool. I know a little bit about witches from when I was younger, growing up on the East Coast, hearing about Salem and stuff. Outside of that, I don't know too many actual stories. So, yeah, let's get into this.
Air quote, witches date back to as early as 931 or 721 BC, though not in the way we typically think of like witches and witchcraft. The Oxford English Dictionary defines a witch as, quote, a person, in later use, typically a woman, who practices witchcraft or magic, especially of a malevolent or harmful nature. The first written account of witches appear actually in the Bible in the book of Samuel and tells the story of when King Saul sought out the witch of Endor to summon a dead prophet named Samuel to help him defeat the Philistine army. I was unaware that the Bible actually spoke about witches in a sort of term.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
I don't know a lot about the Bible, if I'm being honest, but to me, that just seems separate from, I don't know, like witches, witchcraft, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
I mean, the Bible has stuff on demonology and things like that, otherworldly things like that. So it's not too far-fetched to me that it would be in there. It is something that I never knew was in there, but, you know, a lot of the stuff in the Bible is kind of otherworldly, you know, whether it be heaven or hell, right? It's
you say that, yeah.
Extra spirit, the spirituality of it all, and
yeah.
I kind of get it, because there's a lot of, dare I say it, hocus pocus in the biblical text, so that is what it is.
Cut that. Another account from the Bible is from Exodus 22:18, which says, quote, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." It's a command that offers capital punishment for witches, but it doesn't go into any sort of detail of what a witch looks like, what a witch would do. It just says,
just if you find one, you shouldn't have to deal with it being alive.
Yes, yeah, but like no other context surrounding it. The Bible mainly describes witchcraft as bad because it goes against God.
Yes, there can only be one creator. Everything else is blasphemy.
Yes, yeah. Witchcraft may be associated with places like England and Salem in the US, but guess which country actually holds the sad record for executing the most witches? And I'll give you a hint, it is European.
Thank you for the hint, because I was not going to go European because of the biblical thing we just talked about. I'm going to go I'm going to go Italy.
Italy actually has a pretty low record. It is Germany.
I was going to say ancient Germany. Damn it. I'm so upset. I was going to say that, and I went, no. The popes and stuff, all that stuff. Like, what was in Constantinople? Is that Italy? Constantinople? Am I even saying that right? Is it Noble or Noble?
Constantinople.
Noble.
Constantinople is in Turkey.
I don't know shit. Okay.
And country. Sorry, that was funny. Countries like Wales and the Netherlands hold it's tricky to say, but they have the least amount of people executed for witchcraft. I'm going to start by telling you some laws and books or pamphlets that really started the witch hunting fever. Between the 880s and 890s, King Alfred of England wrote a book of law called the Domboek or the Doom Book. In it, it is mentioned, quote, "The women who are wont to receive and assist Jaldorfkraftigen and Schienlekan and Wiccan, and let them not live," which was essentially just like a translation of the previous Bible verse of like, don't let the witch suffer live.
Did you go into any research on The other two names besides Wiccan,
What they mean.
yeah, because to me, I've heard of Wiccan
Mm-hmm.
for witches, like both dark and white or whatever. I've heard of Wiccan before. I haven't heard of the other two that were too wild for me to try to repronounce.
Yeah. So Shinlakan is an Old English word that refers to a witch or sorcerer. And Yaldor Craftigain is also an Old English word that translates roughly to like a sorceress or an enchantress, all in the same realm.
Any version of a witch or magic user that you can
Yes.
think of.
Yes.
Okay.
In 1486, a German book called Malleus Maleficarum, or The Hammer of Witches, was published, and for more than 100 years, it sold more copies than any other book in Europe except the Bible.
Very pious and ready to take on witches.
Mm-hmm. Number one bestseller for 100 years.
Europe didn't mess around.
No witches in this land. The book was essentially a guide on how to identify, hunt down, interrogate, and punish witches, which led to witchcraft becoming a much more commonly accused crime and brought on a huge uptick in literal witch hunts. The book claimed witches were definitely real, and they were definitely conferring with demons, and they definitely needed to be tortured and punished for this heresy. 1542 brought us the Witchcraft Act, which was the first English law that defined witchcraft as a felony punishable by death and forfeiture of goods. In 1563, Queen Elizabeth I of England and Ireland passed a new act which lessened the punishment from burning to prison or just hanging. She also passed the Act Against Conjurations, Enchantments, and Witchcrafts, which stated people would now get a year if they bewitched animals and death by hanging if they murdered.
So Black Phillip was only a year
Mm-hmm.
in the Vavitch.
Yeah. Yes.
But when the goat started killing people.
Yes. Then it's punishable by death. That same year in Scotland, the Scottish Witchcraft Act of 1563 was passed, and that took power of trials from the church and gave it to the crown. Between 1635 and 1641, Maryland and Massachusetts in the United States also declared witchcraft a capital crime. And in 1648, Russian Tsar Alexis issued a law requiring witchcraft crimes to have a death penalty, and just 5 years later, upped it to being burnt on a pyre.
So burning's back in.
In Russia, yes. Some ways to identify and execute a witch included the swimming test. I'm sure you've heard of this one. Do you know what the swimming test was?
I'm only thinking of the test from Monty Python, where if she weighs as much as a duck, she must be a witch because ducks float on water.
Oh.
Witches burn.
Mm-hmm.
Wood burns.
Mm-hmm.
Wood also floats.
Mm-hmm.
And so do ducks.
Okay.
So if the air quotes witch weighs as much as a duck, then she must be a witch because then she floats and also burns like wood.
You're speaking insanity to me. Okay, so the real test is when accused witches were taken to a body of water, be that lake, pond, river, whatever, stripped down to their undergarments, bound, and then tossed in the water. The logic for this was the water would reject the body of witches due to them rejecting baptism, which is also done in water. So, an innocent person would sink, while a guilty person would float.
Great. So if you know how to float in water, you're a witch.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't and you sink, you drown?
Yeah. Yeah, where's the win in this situation, huh?
Yeah, kind of a...
Yeah, big lose-lose. So that's the swimming test. There was a prayer test, which was, it was commonly believed that witches could not speak scripture aloud. So people were made to recite verses from the Bible, usually the Lord's Prayer. Any mistakes or omissions were seen as evidence of guilt, right? Because you can't say it obviously the devil's holding your tongue. You can't say it. An example of this, I mean, witches in the way that these people believed that they existed just didn't. What they believed was real was not real. But an example of this being done and then people being like, kill him anyway, actually happened in Salem, Massachusetts in the United States, where George Burroughs recited the Lord's Prayer perfectly right before his execution, but everybody believed it was a trick from the devil, so they hung him anyway.
Yep, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm going to back up and be a little contrarian here.
Okay.
Did you just say that witches aren't real?
Witches in the way that these people believed they were.
I'm watching you.
They didn't have their fucking cauldrons and their wand reciting incantations and turning people into chickens if they upset them. That wasn't a real thing. Witchcraft in various forms exists today. Fully, truly believe that. Do I think that we have little Harry Potters running around the world? I don't right now. I'd love to be proved wrong, but these people thought that, and they were killing people over it.
You're on thin ice.
Oh my goodness. Another test was the touch test. It was believed if someone was being afflicted with witchcraft by someone else, the witch's touch would ease the ailments that were being put on them.
Yeah, you know who else laid hands on sick people and healed them? Jeebus.
The one and only. The big man upstairs.
And just in case that offends people, Jesus.
Hell yeah, brother. Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, can't offend.
Ice is getting thinner, Jamie.
I know. I'm really pushing my limits today.
You are going to get kicked out of the witching community.
No.
And out of heaven.
No. Anyway, so like if people were going into fits in whatever form that may be, the accused witch would be forced to touch them, and if it stopped, this was seen as an obvious sign of guilt. I'm sure you can't see any problems with that logic now, can you? Little fucking Timothy is acting all crazy saying that I'm afflicting him. I go over and touch him and all of a sudden he's like, oh my god, I'm all better. All right, JT, you were probably just fucking faking it. You're acting a fool and you're gonna get me killed because of it, because you're bored. Because we don't have Nintendo yet. I'm gonna die.
Should have probably done what old Trout Shoe did. Just throwing a brick at her. I bet she was a witch, Zona.
Zona was not a witch.
She came back and talked to people in the afterlife.
Oh my god, that is kind of witch girl behavior.
Little witchy.
That is a little witchy.
Yeah.
I love Zona. Another shout out to Salem here. Another way to find a witch came from Salem, and it is a witch cake. Now, please give me a guess of what you think a witch cake was made of.
You know what's funny is as soon as you said that, something popped in my head like I've heard of this before.
I'm sure you have. You're a little East Coast boy. You're in New England. I'm sure you've heard of this.
I can't for the life of me think of it. Just give me a second here to just get into the recesses of my brain.
Pull it up. Pull it back.
I don't know. The only thing that keeps popping up in my head is kind of like a mud pie with sticks.
No, I have a feeling when I say it, you're going to be like, oh yeah. But a witch cake was made from rye, ashes, and the victim's urine.
I was not like, oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The rye, I was kind of with you.
Yeah.
And then ashes, I'm like, that could make sense, but I don't really remember it. And then the urine, no, I'm out. I never heard this before.
Okay. This cake was then fed to a pet dog in the hopes that the witch afflicting the victim would be outed by the dog directing them to the witch. But really what you're doing is you're feeding your dog this weird concoction. It's probably got an upset tummy and it's going to go outside. Witch marks or teats were any blemish on a body that was used as evidence of a pact with the devil. So like mole, birthmark, third nipple,
Skin tags, yeah. Didn't they call them? Okay, this I don't know if this is true, but I seem to remember Skin tags being called witch's tits.
Really?
I think so.
Oh, I've not heard that.
Probably something my grandmother said.
That does sound like a grandma thing to say. Next, pricking. Witches' marks were thought to be insensitive to pain. So another way to find out was to repeatedly stab or poke somebody's body with a specially designed needle, looking for a place where the person didn't cry out in pain. People in like Scotland and England actually turned this into their jobs and would roam the land looking for people who needed to be poked to find witches.
Traveling poker.
Traveling pokers. Traveling stabbers. I think I just said traveling stabbers. The last one that I'm going to get into is incantations, where if an accused simply asked the devil to stop afflicting someone and they were no longer afflicted, then this was also used as evidence of guilt. If I just yell out, "Big Daddy Satan, please stop hurting Leo," and Leo's all of a sudden good to go, you was probably faking it. Now we are going to get into some cases throughout time from around the world.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to start in ancient Athens. So this is one of the first trials presented in the book that I read for where I got the majority of these witch trials. And it's called Witch Trials by Mary Ellen Snodgrass. This first one tells the story of an Athenian priestess named Theris of Lemnos, who was accused of being, quote, a filthy sorceress after her maid testified to illicit hexes in 323 BCE.
Okay, so 323, we're going way back.
Yeah. She was put on trial, found guilty of sorcery and impiety, and was sentenced to death along with her children. For no good reason. They just wiped out her entire family.
Yep, wiped her out.
Next, I'm going to take you to Denmark. Ingeborg of Denmark married King Philip II Augustus of France in 1193. Shortly after the wedding, for whatever reason, he changed his mind about the marriage and tried to fabricate a family tree showing incest between them in an attempt to get the marriage annulled or like null and void.
Yeah.
When that didn't work, he then accused her of hexing his manhood, resulting in him being impotent and unable to ejaculate, so the marriage was never consummated.
Yeah. Right after we got married, she put a hex on me and we could never consummate the marriage, so it's not real.
Yeah, it never happened. She disputes this, however. She does say, yeah, that we consummated, but he didn't want any of it.
Like a witch would do.
A witch telling her witchly little lies.
Yes.
For the next 2 decades, she was pretty much imprisoned the whole time. He, in the meantime, was with another woman, had other kids. Meanwhile, he's married to her. There was never any official, like, divorce, air quotes, divorce decree between them. So after his death, she was released and acknowledged to be the true queen, like the legitimate queen. So nice to have a story where somebody accused didn't end up dying.
Yeah, but it came with 20 years in prison pretty much.
Yeah. A good chunk of her life she spent in a prison because the dude said he couldn't come. And it's her fault. Times back then were wild.
Yeah.
In June 1492 in Sweden, Erik Clausen was found guilty of common thievery, apostasy, and witchcraft. He was believed to have conspired with the devil to earn gifts like silver, cash, money, which he did confess to renouncing the Christian God and instead worshiping Odin.
Odin Father.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Odin Son.
Yes.
I don't know why I said Odin Father.
All Father?
Yeah, All Father Odin. Odin Son.
Yeah. The punishment for this was mangling on the breaking wheel and then being hung.
So some crazy things come into my mind when I hear the breaking wheel.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never actually heard of this before this. So what is a breaking wheel?
So the term that they used, which was mangling on the breaking wheel, was a very apt description. Essentially it was like a spoked wheel, like what you would see on like a wagon.
Yeah, like a wagon wheel, okay.
Mm-hmm. And they would just beat you with it. So they would normally start with like the legs. So they would just bash your leg, like your shin bone, with the wheel until it was.
Oh, so they're literally just breaking you with the wheel. It's like a
Yes.
guy axe swinging and wow, this is going to be really hard for me to say. Axe swinging a wheel
Yeah.
at your shins and
Yes.
stuff, just like hiya, snap.
Yes.
Ow.
Legs and arms. And if they were feeling generous, they would go right for the heart or the neck to like insta kill. But if they were not feeling generous after mangling your limbs, they would tie you into the spokes of the wheel.
Like weave your broken limbs
Yes.
through the spokes.
Yes, and then tie it and then leave you up. Like a very poor decor.
Wow, I was imagining like some system of wheels and gears that would like twist you around and snap you up. I did not think they were literally going
Brute
to like,
strength.
yeah, just some big motherfucker just smashing your legs to pieces with a wheel.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, icky.
Okay. Yeah.
Icky. So that's what Eric got. He got mangling on the breaking wheel and then hanging. But due to ecclesiastical faults, he was instead just strangled and then burnt on a witch's pyre.
Yeah, was this because like a mob got to him first or something? Or
Ecclesiastical faults. I don't know.
I don't know what that means. Ecclesiastical?
Church.
Ah.
Mhm.
Church.
Church stuff. Next story. I'm taking you to Switzerland. Picture it. It's July of 1519. Are you there in your mind's eye?
I don't know what Switzerland looks like back then. I'm guessing pretty open.
3 thieves named Andreas of Schaffel, Barbel Vermigeren of Koenig, and Hans Stockley of Meerschwand, forgive the pronunciations, all faced a horribly painful death. Andreas admitted to a whole list of things like theft, bestiality, giving his pinky to Satan to win gambles, making a pact with Satan, manipulating the weather, stabbing a man to death, and sodomy against fellow thief Barbel and 6 other boys. Barbel stole a handbag from a relative that had 3 pounds of coins and 3 shillings in it. And I was unable to find any accusations against Hans, but he is lumped in with these other 2 thieves.
Okay.
They were found guilty of committing heinous crimes, sexual depravity, and injurious magic. First, they were torn apart, then their limbless bodies strapped to the wheel, then their corpses burned.
You know,
Brutal.
Yeah, Andreas, sounded like a forced confession because there was just a laundry list of things that he admitted to.
Mm-hmm.
But when it came to Borbel and Hans,
Lot less serious crimes.
and they got the same exact
yes.
execution,
Uh-huh.
ripped to pieces and burned.
Yeah. Switzerland wasn't fucking around. That's what you get for giving your pinky to Satan.
I guess.
Now we're going to Russia. In 1525, Grand Princess Solomenia Sabirova
That's a fucking name.
is how I'm choosing to pronounce that.
Salomenia?
Yeah.
She sounds like she's on the periodic table.
Oh my god, it really does. She was the first wife of Grand Prince Vasily III of Moscow. For 20 years, they were married, but unable to produce an heir. In 1525, the Boyars told Vasily to remarry, even though the church objected to this divorce. Now, the Boyars or the Boyars, little callback to our Vlad episode, just like royal families, important people, noblemen. He decided to convince the church, the prince, decided to convince the church that this was a good thing to grant this divorce, so he chose to accuse her of sorcery. She was, because of this, flogged and forced into Moscow's Nativity Monastery deep in a forest. Her head was shaved and she had to take the new name of Sophia. Legend says that she ended up giving birth to a son just a few months later. So that heir might have been on the way when she was accused and essentially convicted of all this. Yeah, and then getting flogged and forced into a monastery. She died there in 1542, but was later canonized by the church as Saint Sophia of Suzdal.
Hmm.
Just a little off-topic fun fact. In 1526, so while she was still in the monastery, Vasily remarried a 15-year-old girl named Elena Glinskaya, and she ended up giving birth to Ivan the Terrible, who we will probably be covering in a later episode.
Okay.
All right, I got a crazy one for this next one. This one's from Germany in 1589.
Okay.
Peter Stump. He confessed that he had been practicing black magic since the ripe age of 12 and had apparently been given a gift from Satan himself.
Oh, yeah?
Very special boy. This gift was a belt that when he wore it, it would turn him into a werewolf.
Nice. Jealous.
He is, okay, up until now, he is accused of killing 16 people, 13 of which were children. This included his own son, who Peter confesses he ate his brain. He ate his son's own brain. He also admitted to having sex with a succubus and his daughter as well, unfortunately.
I was a little jealous when I heard the succubus thing, but then it took a real weird turn.
Yeah, well, eating your son's brain wouldn't be a weird turn?
Fine with that. He's a werewolf.
I can't talk to you.
I do have a question, though.
Yes.
You said he's been practicing magic since he was a teenager, like
12?
preteen.
Preteen, yep. Tweenie.
How old was he when he made this confession?
At the time of his death, he's estimated to be about 64.
Oh, okay. So he was doing witchcraft for quite a while.
Yes, a very long, like his whole life, yeah. But we're a full-grown man by the time we're getting to this point. On October 31st of 1589, Peter was tortured in one of the most ways that I have read. He was strapped to the wheel.
The breaking wheel?
The breaking wheel, yeah. This thing is the star of the show in this episode.
Okay.
He was then skinned alive, then had his bones broken.
Ooh.
Then he was decapitated.
Yeah, that's pretty gnarly.
They burned his body at the stake and impaled his head in a display at like the center of the village.
Yeah, I can't imagine you stay alive very long after being skinned alive, or if you even make it through the full process.
I don't know. I know there's like ancient tales of saints who were skinned alive, but how much of that is real? I didn't look into how long it would take to stay alive, if I'm being honest.
I'm not a skinologist.
I'm not a skinnyologist, so...
I just think, the pain would be excruciating. You'd probably pass out from that. You'd go into shock and pass out.
Oh, yeah, I'd imagine. And then having your bones broken right after?
But I'm just wondering if you would wake up. Like, I can't imagine not having skin being sustainable.
It is our largest organ. I mean, as with any organ, if it takes enough damage, you're going to die. It's like when people get burned. After a certain point, you just die.
Yeah, there's people that have lived with like 90-something% of their body burned.
That's true. I'm going to be honest. I don't know.
Neither do I. Skinologists out there?
Let us know.
How long can you live without your skin?
Yep. Peter had said that the magic belt was in this certain valley, but it was never found. Duh. His werewolf belt has never been found. And at the time, it was believed that Satan had just taken it back.
I'm choosing not to believe that, and I'm sorry, I'm done with this podcast. I'm going to Germany, and I'm going to find this belt.
You're going to find the werewolf belt?
Yeah.
Next, we're going to go to England. I'm going to introduce you to a man who self-proclaimed called himself the Witchfinder General.
Okay.
Matthew Hopkins. I'm not going to go too in-depth on him. He and an associate or two would travel around the UK area looking for villagers or townspeople to hire them, and they would find witches in their communities.
Okay. Witch hunters.
Yes. Between 1644 and 1647, his victims numbered around 230 people, with possibly more. He would keep people awake to force confessions, do the pricking test or the swimming test. He was also known to just make up his own witch findings. He was a man with a passion.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Clark is a particularly famous case due to her holding the unfortunate honor of being the first woman to be prosecuted by him. Elizabeth was examined by Hopkins and his fellow witch pricker, John Stern, where she allegedly summoned a dog, cat, ferret, rabbit, and 6 imps.
That's what these witch hunters said?
Yep.
Oh, these guys are full of shit.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
taking people's money, lying, and killing people.
Yeah. After being deprived of sleep for days, she admitted to the crime and was sent to trial on July 17th of 1645. While on trial, she brought up the names of 5 other women, one of whom was only 14, so a girl, and as a result of her implications, a total of around 35 women were imprisoned.
Holy moly.
Hopkins held them at Colchester Castle and would perform tests like the dunking test, spring-loaded spikings, and being infected with typhus. He was a madman.
Yeah, and is the dunking test just how it sounds? I don't remember you covering that one in the beginning, so is it just...
I didn't, so I'm glad that you did bring that up.
Is that just... I'm assuming just getting their head dunked in a barrel of water or something? Old school waterboarding.
Yeah, essentially. They were just dunked into water repeatedly until they would confess or die. Whatever came first, I guess. From all this, 5 women were hanged for witchcraft.
Based on their lie, 5 women died.
Yay, Matthew. Thank you. You've saved the village.
It's insane what people could get away with back in the day.
Oh, yeah. We're going to jump back to Sweden now, but in 1675 for a pretty big one that honestly could be an episode by itself, like reminiscent of Salem. On June 1st of 1675 in Tushorker.
Jamie's just sitting here nodding her head
Yes.
like, yeah, I pronounced that right.
I did that perfectly. 71 people, 65 of whom were women, 2 were men, and 4 were boys, were all executed for witchcraft in one day.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. They were accused of abducting children to Blackula, which in Swedish folklore is a fictitious mystical island where witches were believed to have meetups with the devil.
Mystery Land.
Little island where Daddy S goes to hang out.
Makes you want to say it like Dracula. Blackula.
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 That's probably right. I'm not Swedish, and I find that to be very apparent in my pronunciations of everything. They were sentenced to be beheaded and burned. And to do this and have everything going on at once, the victims were beheaded on the north side of the fire so the blood flow wouldn't put out the flames. The women in particular all came from 3 parishes, and due to their deaths, about 19% of the female population was killed in one day, and 10% of the total population of those parishes.
It's insane.
Yeah, 1675. I understand that that is a very long time ago, but we're not talking about like the 1100s. That's, I don't know, man. People were coming to America at that time, and like America's the baby country. That is crazy to me.
Yeah, I mean, few hundred years changes a lot.
Speaking of the United States, Eunice Goody Cole of Hampton, New Hampshire is a unique case. She was accused of witchcraft crimes multiple times between 1656 and 1680, where she was accused of everything from killing livestock to hurting children. She was accused all over the place.
Yeah, for about 25 years or so.
While she did spend some time in jail, she was always eventually let out. Apparently, her main crime was just being a really grumpy lady who was wildly unlikable. It kind of feels like people were just accusing her of whatever.
Yeah,
just
she was the grumpy old get off my lawn lady.
Yeah. She died in 1680 and was quickly buried in an unmarked grave, stabbed through the chest, and a horseshoe was hung on on a stake by her grave just for some good luck.
Do you think she was a vampire?
I don't know why they did that.
Could you imagine being so grumpy that people had to make sure you weren't a monster when you died? and came back to life.
Yeah. You were so terrible in life. We want to fully make sure that you don't have a chance to ever come back as the undead.
Mm-hmm.
Just nix that right now. No vampires, no zombies.
And a horseshoe for good luck.
Mm-hmm. Just some good luck praying that you never come back, you cranky old biddy.
Goody's such a pilgrim name, too.
Oh my god, I know. Well, like anybody in the Salem witch trials, which us being from the US is what we are most familiar with, everybody was like Goody Sarah, Goody Elizabeth. Next, we're going to Brazil's capital city, where a recently immigrated Mima Renard was forced to turn to working and living in a brothel after a man murdered her husband after she rejected him.
Yeah, so basically you don't want to go out with me, so I'm going to kill your husband.
Yeah, which binky bonky fucking thinking, but that's where he landed. That was his choice. So
Okay.
she's now living and working in a brothel when two unfaithful men ended up getting into a fight to the death over her.
This chick's got to be drop dead gorgeous.
She's got something. She's got it.
She got that gorilla grip.
Mm-hmm. After this, the local wives started talking and accused her of hexing the married men, thinking that their attraction to her had to have been supernatural. The church at the time thought this was reasonable enough, and she was eventually convicted of maleficium.
What the heck is maleficium?
Witchcraft. Fancier word for it.
Okay.
She was burned on a witch pyre in 1692. If looks could kill, but they killed her for looking good.
Yeah, if looks could kill yourself.
Yeah, then she nailed it. We're going to go back to England, this time in 1745. Ruth and John Osborne were old beggars from Hertfordshire in 1745 when an ill-fated comment that was said in anger sealed their fate. A pub owner named John Butterfield accused Ruth of witchcraft after she said a threat to him when he denied her some buttermilk. Shortly after this, his calves, his baby cows, fell ill, and he began suffering from fits, which led to the obvious conclusion that Ruth had actually cursed him.
You better give me that buttermilk, boy.
Mm-hmm. Or you and your calves will suffer.
If I can't get that buttermilk, nobody can.
Okay. England, love you, God bless, but you have the most wild town names I've ever heard. Onlookers from Hemel Hempstead, Leighton Buzzard, and Winslow to Long Marstone were told we're told that on April 22nd of 1751, there would be a trial by ducking.
Ducking?
Mm-hmm. We'll get to it. The Osbornes fled, but the crowd of around 5,000 people were not to be disappointed that day, as the Osbornes were eventually found, bound, wrapped in sheets, and placed upon the ducking stool.
The ducking stool.
Very much like dunking. They were just put into water. It's all kind of the same dunking, ducking, swimming test. It was all very much the same of we're going to put you in water and see what happens. After 3 duckings, or dunkings, Ruth eventually died due to suffocation, and John died shortly after her. The coroner declared Ruth's death was a murder, and a chimney sweep named Thomas Coley was arrested. I guess he was one of the more active participants in this said witch trial.
He was the dunker to her ducker. He's the ducker.
I guess so, yes. He was sentenced to death for this crime and is now said to haunt the area in the form of a large, shaggy black dog. So, I guess when you kill a witch and then you get killed for doing so, you get to be a dog. Right? Coming up on our last 2 stories here, I'm going to take you back to the United States, and we're going to go to Ohio this time.
Okay.
In Ohio, a Wyandot Native American leader of the Porcupine Clan, named Leatherlips, was in a bit of a problem. He had conceded some land to white settlers and even encouraged cooperation with them, which upset other natives, naturally.
Yeah, we're fighting to keep our land, you're just giving it away?
Yeah, you want us to be cordial with the white people? Insane. Two Shawnee brothers named Tecumseh and Tenskwatawa were staunchly anti-white. Leatherlips sold land to Henry William Harrison at the time he was governor of the Indiana Territory, but does that name sound familiar?
Harrison?
Mm-hmm.
It's not ringing a bell to me.
Oh, well, he would later go on to become the 9th president of the U.S.
Oh, well, it's because I'm American. Why would I know that far back?
Anyway, Leatherlips was charged with sorcery and defying Tecumseh, though it is speculated that the sorcery charge was just a cover for the more political reasonings of his execution. So while he was accused of it, probably not true. So this is a different kind of witch trial. It's thought they just used him as a scapegoat because there had been some recent illnesses and a horse had died, but they don't believe that they actually thought it was Leatherlips.
Historians don't believe that they actually believed it was him?
Yes. Leatherlips' brother, Chief Roundhead, was on the committee that determined his guilt, and they decided to execute him for these alleged crimes. So no love lost there between those two brothers. On June 2nd, 1810, at 78 years old, he dressed in his finest outfit, painted his face, and began singing the death chant shortly before he was tomahawked in the head by 6 other warriors. So they did put him to death for this.
Yeah, pretty brutal.
Yeah. Last story. Fabian Maria de Jesus of Guarujá in Brazil, we're in Brazil again, was partially accused of witchcraft after local children started going missing. A Facebook rumor started circulating. Yeah, your face.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which isn't...
Mm-hmm.
When did Facebook get made? It's like 2010?
Yeah, I know I had one back in high school. I'm going to tell you the date.
Oh.
We are going to get there. A Facebook rumor started circulating that she was using the abducted children for black magic rituals. While police dismissed this rumor, an angry mob was formed, and on May 3rd of 2014, they attacked her by bounding her hands with wire, beating her, and dragging her body through the streets. She was rescued by police, but tragically ended up dying just 2 days later in the hospital, leaving behind 2 children and a husband.
So they beat her to death.
Mm-hmm.
Or they beat her to the point of no recovery.
Yeah, 2014.
2014, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Witch hunts going on in 2014?
Can you believe women being accused of such insanity?
I can't believe that we have a literal witch hunt in 2014. I know metaphorical witch hunts in this modern age, but not legitimate witch hunts.
Resulting in the death of a young mother barely over a decade ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Obviously, I barely scratched the surface here with even the trials that I've presented. And throughout all of time, there's no way that I could ever possibly cover everything. But just some ending notes here. Remember, I was briefly telling you about some laws that were enacted for witchcraft earlier?
Yes.
Well, let's go over some laws that show some growth in countries. In 1662, Scotland banned torturing accused witches unless they had special authorization. 1682, France forbids prosecution for witchcraft. Go France. 1699, Estonia forbids the torture of suspected werewolves. Snaps and claps. 1736, the English Witchcraft Act of 1563 was repealed in Scotland. 1755, Vienna bans sorcery trials. 1895, Ireland has its last witch trial. And in 1969, Australia's New South Wales rescinded the 1735 British Witchcraft Act.
In 69, Australia repealed that?
Better late than never. Hey, Australia. Way to get with it, with the times.
Way to get with it, Australia.
Well, that's all the sad tales that I got for you today. The majority of these cases that I told you guys about today come from a book called Witch Trials by Mary Ellen Snodgrass. If you are interested in this kind of stuff or want to do a deeper dive, highly recommend. It was a very interesting read.
And I can put a link to that in the show notes. That way you guys could find it. I'll just do an Amazon link over there. Also, we're big supporters of local libraries. So if you go to a local library, go pick it up over there.
That's what I did. Hope you guys learned something new today. If you'd like, you can follow us on Instagram at Darkives Podcast, or you can send us an email at
thedarkivescommunity@gmail.com. And also, we are Dark Eyes Podcast on Threads. So you guys can follow us there. If you've made it this far, we'd highly appreciate you dropping a rating for us or leaving us a comment. Let us know how you think we're doing. Let us know if there's anything you want to hear in the future.
Please.
And I do know, a little sneak peek for next week, Jamie is going to do a little something for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be the last of our spooky kind of season. Then we're going to get back to just more some dark history after that.
Yep.
October's run will be over.
Until next year. Bless Halloween. My favorite. I think that does it, though. Join us next week for another episode of The Darkives.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye.